Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got our player props video here for you guys on a Tuesday night slate with those couple games we've got. Looking at the Dubs taking on Memphis again here in Game 2. Also looking at that Eastern Conference Game 2 for the Bucks and the C's. So those are the two games we have to choose from here. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us. We are bringing you each and every playoff game with a game video and then these player props videos as well. And also want you to head to thelines.com. Make sure you're using that props tool, shopping the lines out there for the best odds available for you guys on all these NBA player props. And I also want you to head to play.thelines.com if you'd like to win a $25 Amazon gift card. Just fill it in that NBA Daily Pick'em Challenge, get all those correct, and we will send you that gift card. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as tonight's play props. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Morant here in Game 2, and it's not because he blew up for 34 points. I'm actually not really taking the points. If you want to take over 27.5, go for it. But I like the over 17.5 rebounds assists at plus 102. Pretty good odds there. I mean, you combine it, he's minus 140 to get to 8 rebounds and minus 140 to get to 9 assists. So we're saying that's really likely, but you just put the two together and you're protected both ways, and the odds are better. So, I mean, that's just an easy choice for me. In 6 straight playoff games, he's gotten at least 19 and up to 23 rebounds and assists, including a near triple-double on top of those 34 points first time out. The fact that Steven Adams is out is, you wouldn't think of it as, our point guard's going to do a lot more peripheral things, but that's really what Ja has done, because Steven Adams is kind of a point center for this team. I mean, he just catches it on the elbow and facilitates things. Without him in there, it's just Ja running pick and roll with Brandon Clark and kicking to everybody and trying to scoop shots now to Triple J, who's able to stay on the floor in this series. And so I mean, even though he has not been scoring against the Warriors in his previous 6 regular season, 20.5 points per game. I think they'll do a better job denying his penetration, keeping him from scoring 30 plus like he did. That's why I'm shying away from the points a little bit, but I think he'll still be able to rack up those assists because he's just creating everything for Memphis right now. Per 36 minutes, he averages about 44 points, rebounds, and assists this season. Offensive rating 6 points higher at home versus on the road, and where he only played 31 minutes per game, but he plays nearly 39 minutes per game in his career in the playoffs thus far. So that gives him plenty of opportunity to just get these peripheral stats and get you up to 18 or 19 again.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the other reason not to love the points again are, I mean, he scored plenty, but he also went 4 of 11 from 3. Maybe he can continue that. I don't know. That's the second most amount of threes he's ever made in a playoff game. I mean, it's only 6th, but he did have a surprisingly, well, I guess no, that play in game with the Dubs where he actually made 6 3-pointers. But look, that's not by coincidence. It's not by coincidence that he and Triple J are both just taking a ton of threes. They're wide open because that's what they want them to do. They hit them at a very nice clip, going 10 of 20 combined between Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. in Game 1. But one of them, at the very least, needs to regress a little bit back towards their mean. I would say that Ja going closer to 2 for 9 from 3 is what you would expect there for him. But I still think that you feel pretty good about him getting at least close to, if not double-digit assists. And he's all over the place, man, for those rebounds as well. Especially because Triple J is going to be their center moving forward. We all know that. Xavier Tillman will get some time, but Xavier Tillman ain't going to be able to last on the floor against the Golden State the way he was in that Minnesota Timberwolves series. So you're going to see plenty of Triple J at center and Ja really, like you said, doing his thing without anybody else, taking up any of those sort of the elbow area or anything that he wants to do to get into the lane and dish out. So I'm going to move on to the guy I was just talking about. Simple segue, Jaren Jackson Jr. I am going to go back to him for those threes and the points. He had 14 at the half, which the half that Draymond played in before he got kicked out of the game for a flagrant 2. I say that because I don't want people to run away with the idea that he had 33 points in this game and just made a bunch of threes because Draymond wasn't in there to guard him. He was already making some shots and doing his thing around the rim as well, still scoring, roughly 40% of his points from the paint. But I like the threes again. For him to just make 2 is minus 170 on DraftKings if you want to just take something that you feel good about, but why not just take 3 at that point, which on FanDuel, you can get that alternate line there for him to hit 3 threes, plus 210 on your money. And now I really like that. He shot the ball 9 times from 3 because they're going to let him. And if he's going to step into, 25 footers and make it, God bless. And he's going to get that shot. And I think he's going to continue to have the opportunity to do that. He's played really well against the Dubs, in his last 4, averaging better than 20 points a game, 8.5 boards. He's making 2.5 threes in that time frame. So I think the safe play here is for him to get 16 points, especially because I think the Dubs have made clear that Desmond Bane is not getting open shots from 3, nor is Dylan Brooks. Not that it stopped him from shooting the ball from 3 more than 9 times last game, but he's going to be covered to the extent that he was in this last one as well. It's going to be Triple J and John Morant that are allowed to shoot the threes for against the Warriors. And I like Triple J to continue to be able to make 3 of them if he's going to be shooting 9 of them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a situation where you can really just capitalize on great odds because he wasn't able to stay on the floor in the last series, and the Warriors are not going to get him into foul trouble at all. Nobody's in the same way Draymond doesn't even attack. Right. Yeah. So he's all of a sudden he's out there. He's reliable to get about his season averages. He averaged 16 points per game at home. And even in a down year shooting the ball, he was 35% from 3 at home. Not terrible. After hitting 6 threes, you're getting that kind of odds for him to hit half that amount when he's going to be hoisting. Memphis could actually be down in this game more than they were in game 1, and then he will continue to hoist. But speaking of letting you shoot threes, that is exactly what the Milwaukee Bucks do. And they like to pick who they let shoot threes. And Al Horford is one of those designated guys, despite the fact that he's shooting 54% from 3 in these playoffs. And that's basically how he's getting all of his points. He scored 12 points in game 1 by hitting 4 of 9 from 3. And so those will be there. And he's only at 10.5 points here at close to even money. So I would just hit that. It's the same situation where you're at minus 150 for him to hit 2 threes. You might as well jump it up 1 more and get the plus odds. But I think Horford will be scoring in a little bit more of a variety of ways, not just from the 3-point line, mixing it up down low a little bit. The Celtics need to get some stuff going in the paint, that's for sure. Yeah. After scoring a season low 20 points down low in that game, it's not like Milwaukee is impenetrable. Their defense was not even very good during the second half of the season. Boston can bounce back by just attacking that. And Horford should be on the floor. That's key here because he's been their best option to guard Giannis. It's the best initial option with Robert Williams kind of patrolling that back line. So I do like him to get over 22.5 points, rebounds, assists. He did have 10 boards, 3 assists to go along with those 12 points game 1. And that's even better odds than just the points. But the points is so low that I feel great just hitting that rather than trying to chase a 30-point game from one of the Jays here in a series that so far has been very physical and very tough for any star to get going.
Yeah, and we'll see how hobbled Marcus Smart is, in this game, which affects all of that in terms of their perimeter scoring. But Papa Al is going to continue to be allowed to shoot threes, and I think part of it is when he misses, it's so bad looking. Honestly, sometimes it's like either a really wild air ball or just like a line drive off the front of the rim, but he still makes them. And when they go in, you're like, oh, that's cash. It's like one of those guys where as soon as it's off Papa Al's hands, you're like, that's in, or that is a brick right away, because when his form is true, it's true. But I think the points are fine at 10.5. I don't even really want to chase the other stats. But to your point, like the defense wasn't bad by any means. It's just what they choose to allow you to do. And I don't think you want to continue to chase any big games from the Jays in this series. Although, look, if Tatum could come out in this one and give us something that proves that he is in that upper echelon where we have him. But to the points that you made in that game video, like you ain't playing the Nets defense here, dude. Like as bad as or as average as the Bucks defense was throughout the season, it got better once Brook Lopez came with just roughly 3 weeks left in the season, and that's what you're seeing in the playoffs. Even though it was against the Bulls team that was just diminished at that point, and the Celtics team is just as good on offense, almost as good on offense as they are on defense anyway, and they're very, very good on defense. I think that let me put it this way: right now, the Bucks seem to have a bit of their number on defense over what the Celtics were able to do against Giannis and company in Game 2. But we'll see what happens here, and I'll keep it in this game for our fourth prop and go back to Mr. Holiday, Jrue Holiday there. He is definitely a friend of the show and someone that we love to go back to. 19.5 points, minus 108 on FanDuel. 3 made threes for the man is plus 176. Dude, he's hitting all his threes on unassisted 3-point shots as well, because he's just stepping into them from all over the court with a confidence and then pulling the arrow out of his back and shooting that out the quiver, which is beautiful. But I continue to feel good about him because he's playing with a level of confidence that kind of feels like winning a championship gives you that level of like, been here before, this is our chip and we're coming back for it. So I like him to continue to score with Middleton out. His usage rate since that Middleton injury is 27%. He's shooting 40% from 3 on making about 2.5 of them since that time as well. And he's played well against Boston. His last 4 versus them, talking about 23 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, and plenty of threes, including that last regular season game in April on the 7th, where he went 29, 8, and 8 with 4 threes against Boston. And if Marcus Smart is hurt, as we said, that's their best option for guarding Jrue in this series, short of needing to put someone like Jaylen Brown on him, which I'm not saying is out of the question with how strong Jrue Holiday is as well. So, but either way, I still like him to get the points as the true second banana in this one, as we like to say. And they're clearly saying, go ahead, Jrue. I mean, 8 for 20 from the field, but still hitting those three-pointers at a rate of like 4 for 9 in a way that you feel pretty good about him getting 20 points, even if we kind of do lean under again in game. Or this time in Game 2, knowing what we know about the way these defenses are playing, it's going to be a bit of him getting that usage and those minutes and shots up because of Chris Middleton being out.
Yeah, are you sure he wasn't the second banana already this season? I mean, yeah, he would take away MVP votes from Giannis because the Bucks actually had a worse record when Jrue missed games than Giannis.
Love him.
And yeah, you talk about that championship medal. I mean, it was all over his face in the first quarter. Putting his imprints on that game right away. The fact that his individual matchup, Smart is dealing with 2 different injuries in the quad and the shoulder. You think Jrue is going to be a big part of the game plan, going right at Smart, testing him early. And just the fact that, that Middleton's out, that usage rate's going to go up and it's going to be, and all the attention Giannis is getting. I love just Jrue 20 points here. You never know how many threes he's actually going to take, but the odds are definitely great for him to hit 3 of those. And
those 3-point attempts do go up when Middleton is out, knowing that they're going to be lacking from him in that department. So, just like Jrue stats all over the place right now, continuing along, especially with Giannis's remaining so damn high.
Oh, the volatility of the 3-point shot. That is what we're looking at for Boston, Milwaukee here. Could go a lot of different ways depending if those hit. But the Celtics pretty much the same spread as Game 1 at minus 4.5. Kind of surprising after they got handled by the defending champs. The total has dropped only 2.5 points to 215 after a really defensive-oriented game. A couple things to watch there. And then the other game that we'll get to here, Warriors are -2, -1.5, depending where you can get it. At Memphis, that total crept up a little bit to 228. And my first thought is I want the under in that West Coast game. I think Memphis kind of played an outlier game and is not going to score that much. The Warriors can be held in check in Memphis. So maybe what you actually want to tease here is the Bucks up to 8 with that under in the second game. I mean, I think you got to feel pretty good about the Bucks covering 5-6 points at least. I mean, and potentially just winning this game. It just, again, it depends. How are the Celtics going to shoot from 3? Because they played into Milwaukee's strategy. What we thought kind of coming into the series that Milwaukee was just going to dare the guys who had been shooting about 40% from 3 in these playoffs or higher to beat them and just allow all these threes, allow nothing at the rim, which is what they do. And the Celtics, let alone those guys like Smart and Horford and Grant Williams. Jalen and Jason couldn't hit a three, and that's the bigger deal. I mean, it's just an outlier game in terms of them just playing in a fog. I'm playing an emotional letdown. Let's look at it like that. I mean, they just had this great like breakthrough series, like Jordan beating the bad boy Pistons, swept them out of the playoffs. It's hard not to feel in their mind like they had all the momentum in the world, and then the defending champs come in feeling disrespected and really brought a finals caliber effort on the defensive end. The intensity was there from the opening tip. The Scott Foster and his crew were willing to ref it like a finals game and let the hand checking go on both ends. Celtics were not as physical as the champs, and they got owned in the paint. And then the interest, shot 60% of their field goals from three, not trying to mix it up down there. 0.0 points from the mid-range game. Like these are things that really have to be addressed. I mean, Tatum, and it's on Tatum. He's the leader of this team. He has to be able to get himself going a little earlier. I mean, he finished with 21 points. He had a truly atrocious offensive game, though. I mean, missed like several layups in the first quarter. Me and you were both sweating that over. If he just made a layup, we would have had the first quarter over. But, not to get too bitter about this. I think we're looking at a great defensive series here. I mean, if Boston can hold Giannis to 9 for 25 from the floor, they're going to do a better job adjusting so that he doesn't get 12 assists. They're going to do a better job in rotation. I mean, it's such a well-coached team. There's no way they're just going to be like, we're taking away Giannis and living with, all these other guys shooting threes. At the same time, Milwaukee's three-point shooting is going to regress a little bit. Boston's is going to come up a little bit in the home environment. And it is kind of an unpredictable thing in the sense that if a few of those threes start falling in the first half, that Boston Garden is going to be very, very loud, and we could kind of have a runaway situation. I don't think the Bucks are the type of team to just fold on the road. But I think that's the Celtics requirement for the path to victory is you got to hit some threes early. Milwaukee's giving you these threes. Can they knock them down is the question.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I still do lean to that under, even if they do hit a few more threes in this next one. But at the same time, I think the reason and the reason I think that to start with on the Milwaukee side really is, Giannis had a Giannis game, a Giannis playoff game, and actually not really a great Giannis offensive output, at least in the scoring. 24 points, but the 9 for 25 from the field, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for him to sort of force things, and the recipe for that sort of pull away in the first half by hitting some threes. The other part of that recipe is make Giannis force shots. Make the pressure of the crowd and your scoring, put pressure on Giannis to make him feel as though he needs to force things and drive into the lane into 2 or 3 guys and throw up a bunch of bad shots. And he did that in the first half, by the way, where his field goal percentage was even worse than it was for the game, as he did get a lot better in the second half around the rim. So they had that sort of teed up for them, did Boston, if they hit some of their shots. The other thing we have to remember is the shots that Tatum and Brown were missing. Brown was the one who somebody was in his head outside of, there was ghosts somewhere around there, because it seemed like he was hesitant to pull. He wasn't driving into the lane. He was trying to take threes. And when he would up fake on a three, this happened like 3 times in the first half. He'd up fake on a three, and then he wouldn't drive to the hoop. He would sidestep and try to take another three. And it was like, dog, that's not your game. Like, just, you're huge. Go to the rim downhill. That's what they want. That's what everybody on that team talks about, is when Jaylen Brown is going downhill, that's when they're at their best. They couldn't get to the rim. And once again, that's not a coincidence. That's by design, right? Those 3-pointers, they need to go in. But at the same time, like, if you're not getting anything at the rim, those 3-pointers need to go in all game with consistency. And there were a few spurts here and there where the C's hit a couple threes in a row. And it seemed like, okay, this game's within 7 or 8 points. Now they have a shot. then guys like Jrue Holiday were coming down on the other side and playing super well on offense. And he's been a big reason for them, not just the 3 for 5 from three, but it's when he's hitting those threes to start the game, to come out and get a lead, and then the other couple that he hit late to make sure that they could continue to stay ahead by nearly 10 points. And look, I think they can continue to play this level of defense. You saw what they did against Giannis. It wasn't like they got lucky that he was putting up some bad shots. It was a combination of Papa Al and Time Lord. And if Rob Williams, Time Lord, needs to be healthy for this to continue, because when the two of them were guarding him for a combined like 9.5, 10 minutes, we're talking about 6 points, 4 assists, and just 2 for 13 from the field with 4 turnovers. That's what they did to Giannis, the two of them. As soon as he got switches, it was over. And he got switches on a couple guys too many times, including Marcus Smart, and company. That look, as good as Derek White and Marcus Smart have been on defense on the perimeter for them, especially the point of attack, they're not going to be a matchup for Giannis standing at the free throw line. And that's where he got a number of those points. He even started to have that turnaround jumper going. So my main point here is that we didn't talk enough about the Bucks defense. And I think the Boston defense did its job for an under, which we can continue to feel good about in this series. And it did its job to give itself a chance to win on the other side. 101 points to the Milwaukee Bucks when they're playing at a pace of nearly 101. It's impressive, right? You keep them to 100, straight up 100 offensive efficiency. They did their job all over the floor. They got out rebounded, which was a little bit concerning, but come on, man, you got Bobby Portis in there now for Chris Middleton playing a lot of those minutes, especially in the first half. You've got 3 nearly 6'10" and above guys that are all bangers down low with him, Lopez and Giannis. So yeah, of course they're going to continue to feel really good about the rebounding battle, but they wouldn't have nearly as many rebounds if there weren't so many missed threes. And I just think it starts with Boston not settling nearly as much, because they got plenty fine shots, but I think that they're going to be going to the rim a bit more. They can't get outdone in the paint to that degree, even if they're not able to win the paint battle, because that's really where Milwaukee excels on defense. I think they're just going to need to take a lot higher percentage of their shots from inside the 3-point line and give up a good 3 for a great 2 and see how that goes, which once again still makes me feel really good about an under, because I don't think this pace gets faster than the 100.5 that it was in game 1.
Yeah, I think you can target the under, but I think I would stick to our guns about the over in the first quarter, because the Celtics are going to come out with a renewed focus here in terms of executing on offense. I mean, there are ways to exploit this Milwaukee defense, and it's not just make or miss threes. It comes down to the X's and O's. And Milwaukee, 7 turnovers in the first quarter, 6 the rest of the game. So, I mean, there's a lot of room for improvement on their end as well in terms of coming out strong. We talked about it. I mean, second highest scoring team in the first quarter. I think we'll see a more free-flowing game early, but I do still like the under for the game, because the Celtics MO and in these playoffs has been in the fourth quarter, things tighten up. Yeah, you talk about Jalen tentative. I mean, yeah, it always seems like that to me. It wasn't uncharacteristic. It's why I don't really trust him to be a 25-point scorer every night, because he just has so much explosiveness and so much options that he doesn't seem to know what to do with it at times. And it's always like kind of like Embiid, who still scores a ton, but it's just like you look like you're like falling over your skis, like you're just like off balance. You're so athletic. Anyway, I mean, the turnovers is what this hinged on. I mean, Milwaukee scored 27 points off 18 turnovers. It's another correctable error. I mean, they got 27% of their points off that. That's something Boston didn't do at all against Brooklyn when they had poise. I mean, when they had much easier time getting to the rim. So I think some of that is just like the shock value. Again, the shock value, the emotional letdown of suddenly playing a tough physical team that plays well together and plays well on the defensive end. And suddenly there's hands everywhere and there's nothing at the rim as easy as you were getting against freaking Brooklyn. I mean, I think the Celtics will do a much better job of adjusting for that. And then that does help the under down the stretch, because if you're not turning it over and allowing Giannis to get out in transition, they did a great job. Like you said, when they were able to set up in half court, put Horford or switch Rob Will onto him, they were able to limit this Bucks offense. So I think, yeah, maybe if you like the over early, like we're saying, and the under late, that's a great live betting opportunity. And I do think we'll see a close game down the stretch. So if I had to pick the spread, I would take Milwaukee and the 5 points again, maybe buying 1.5, or just, I would expect another close finish for sure, or a close finish tonight, rather than that kind of the Celtics letting it slip away in the third quarter again.
Yeah, and we could have had a closer game in a number of different areas. There were a couple wide open spots for the Seas to just hit their shots. They didn't. It's like you said, it's not just them making or missing shots, but in this game, that's all it was, because they did a lot right in other parts. But it is those turnovers as well, where if they're not going to be that efficient on offense or even have that great of a shooting night, and we know they're not going to be getting to the rim with too much ease, then it is important, that they're not turning the ball over and wasting possessions.
Memphis played really well in areas that they don't usually play well, namely hitting threes in game one. They were outscored in the paint, which is definitely a troubling sign, and out-rebounded by Golden State when Draymond got ejected, and they still lost in the clutch here. The defensive rating in the clutch, not nearly as good as it was against Minnesota. Imagine that. I mean, it's just Taylor Jenkins is a good coach at this point, but his guys are just so inexperienced that if you're going to put them on the floor in clutch time against a 3-time champion core, they're going to get exposed like over and over with easy action. I mean, Steph did not even get going until the end of the game, but made all the clutch plays he needed. Clay hit a clutch 3. Aside from those missed free throws, they were both as clutch as you would expect. So, I mean, game 2, honestly, is a little bit unpredictable. I do kind of think Memphis gets this one, just because I think this series has to go 5 or 6. And that's why we're talking about that plus 280 number. Because I think you can bet both of those rather than taking the series spread at this point. So Golden State to win in 6 or fewer is like minus 250. And like, why would you take that when you can try to take these 2 exact bets, and then you're only screwed if it's a sweep or Warriors in 7? We don't think the Grizzlies are going to win this series, like that, to say the least. Yeah, they like I said, the experience versus what Golden State has, barring some sort of bad injury, I don't think they have enough. I mean, Ja had a very good game 1. I think that's another outlier, honestly. I think Golden State knows how he likes to attack. In his last 6 coming into the series, he averaged 20 points per game, 6 assists, about 4 turnovers, shot 17% from 3 with a 95 offensive rating against this defense, which didn't have Draymond in there for a few of those games. And in game 1, he shot 4 of 11 from 3. That is his playoff career high for threes, pretty sure. Jaren Jackson Jr. was actually able to stay on the floor, which is great for the over. He finally enjoyed some offense, 6 for 10 from 3. I don't know if that's going to last necessarily. And even Jordan Poole's huge night off the bench, I don't know if that's going to last. We targeted the under after Memphis in game 1 last series. I think you can definitely hit that again. Even if it is a Memphis win, I think that they will be able to do a better job containing those Splash Brothers. And they did do a good job on the Warriors without Draymond the last 2 regular season meetings. But the assists is where you look at. Yeah, because I'm talking about them keeping Memphis on a string, manipulating these young guys the way they need to get where they want on the floor. And when Draymond's out there, they're able to do that with 31 assists in game 1. The last 2 losses against Memphis, 18 and 15 assists because no Draymond. But the last time they beat Memphis, the Grizz shot 8 for 26 from 3 rather than the 16 for 40 we're talking about in game 1. So there is a roadmap here, certainly, for the Warriors to just take complete control of the series. I still think Memphis would get 1 and avoid the sweep. Get 1 in Golden State. So I think Warriors in 5 is a good futures bet at this point. And for this game, like I said, I do like the under at 228. And I like teasing it up if you want to get some extra safety on that Bucks Celtics game. Either direction, feel better with the Bucks plus 8 or the Celtics at the money line if you tease that one.
Yeah, we have a lot of opinions about this series at this point too. I think there's so many different creative ways to bet on it. If you feel as confidently as we do at this point about Bucks in 5 or 6, I I do like, I'm sorry, did I say Bucks? Dubs in 5. My brain will wake up at some point. But I think, Dubs in 5, yeah, Dubs in 6, great too. This is one where I can definitely see Memphis coming out super hot early. I mean, they kind of did last time as well, but they were going punch for punch for a bit. And this one, I think that they can come out a bit frenetic. But so is Draymond at this point. He's going to be coming out, I think, shot out of a cannon, similarly to how he exited stage right when he was just like the heel of a WWE SmackDown, right, after he got thrown out. I think he's going to be coming back with that same energy as well. And the Dubs were energized a bit by him going out. I mean, the rest of the way, but going into that second half at that point, they definitely did a great job in that third quarter, taking the lead. They outscored them the rest of the way, 64-57 after Draymond exited, and they actually out-rebounded them. There's a less turnovers on the Dub side, unshockingly, as Draymond was turning the ball over at a too high of a clip already in this game. Obviously, also filling up all of the other stats with 3 steals and a block already. Look, they need him, and they're going to get him back. And I think some of the outliers in this game, if you talk about regressing back to a mean, you're kind of talking about regressing back to a mean that still favors the Dubs. They get Draymond back. Clay and Steph. I mean, Steph is Steph, but they weren't exactly efficient on offense when they're shooting. Clay going 6 for 19 from the field, 3 of 10 from 3. And then Steph, 5 of 12 from 3. And that's really what you care about. 8 for 20 from the field, not great. Shot better and percentage-wise from deep in this one. And then, look, Jordan Poole, yeah, that's the one thing that the Grizzlies can hopefully rely on is you're not going to get 31, 8, and 9 on 60% from the field, 50% from 3 from Jordan Poole consistently. 8 boards and 9 assists as well, by the way. Maybe not as consistently, but like the dude's got to be considered for like 20. His props have to be at 20 and like 5 assists moving forward. You can't keep it lower than that. It was at 18.5 for this game, and it started out bad for it. I mean, the kid just kept missing. He probably missed his first 3 shots and then just kept pulling. You cannot stop him. He does not have fear, and he's got the green light at this point. And he and Kuminga also had a couple great minutes. They've got athleticism on this team that they've never had, and nowhere near the athleticism of Memphis. But Gary Payton Jr. the young glove, the mitten, GP2. Steve Kerr said before the series started, he's such a good playoff performer. He's going to come out. He's going to play a ton of defense. He does not turn the ball over and make bad decisions. He hits the wide open threes that he gets when he can. And he's really he's great for this team, man. I mean, between finishing, he's at 6.5 points. His PRA, you might consider it's like probably going to be about 12.5, which is, they actually had those props up for him in game 1. And you look at you just start with the minutes for him. He doesn't ever get 23 minutes in a game. Now he's starting and also finishing games because of that defense. And because if you're going to have the splash bros out there like that, you need someone who's just going to be the messy stats guy at that point, because especially when Draymond wasn't in, and even if he is, you still need another messy stats guy like GP2 who comes in and does that for them. So like I said, I'm not necessarily scared of an under in this one. I would definitely prefer it to the points that you're making. I think a lot of the regression we talk about will come back to this game not being as high scoring. When we get back to Golden State is when I'm definitely going to start smacking unders, as that's where Golden State's defense is incredibly good. It's 100. I believe their defensive rating is 104 at home on the season, 110 on the road, giving up like 5 or 6 more points a game. So that's where you start looking at unders if it's going to remain in the 220s, 225 at that total. Right now, I still feel good about the Dubs. I think the way I want to play this one is not the -2 off bat. I think I want to wait for this to be, a 7-8 point lead for Memphis somewhere in the second quarter, possibly even more if the Dubs come out slow. We'll see how they come out, but I think I can wait for that and then get Dubs closer to a money line bet. Or right now at -130, I would feel good about a money line bet with the under there as well, just because they are the favorite. And I don't think there's going to be nearly as many points in this game, but I still think that they have the opportunity to win this one pretty. They have the better opportunity.
Yeah, but the Warriors also score 4 points per game fewer on the road, shoot 2 percentage points lower from 3. Memphis playing for their lives. We saw what they did to respond defensively after Minnesota dropped 130 on them in game 1. Tougher task here. That's what we're talking about with the clutch numbers. I mean, in game 1 here, a 120 defensive rating after holding Minnesota to a 98 offensive rating and playing at a much slower pace down the stretch. So that is a bit of a concern if you take the under, and it might go over late. But really, it does favor the Dubs more. In these playoffs, they're shooting 51% from the field in the clutch with a nice assist-to-turnover ratio. Memphis is under 40%, and that's with all those miraculous comebacks where it seemed like they could do no wrong. if they get into these real back and forth games at a championship level, I just don't. Yeah, I mean, they're in uncharted territory. I don't think they have the scheme, even, like, let alone the poise. It's just they're an easier team to defend if you can keep Ja out of the lane. I mean, Desmond Bane is their 1 3-point shooter, and so it's really just denying that penetration. I'm a little surprised Gary Payton. He started and only guarded Ja for 5 minutes, right? Maybe Kerr is holding something back in that sense. Maybe now he's going to use that great on-ball defender to keep Ja out of the lane a little bit more. And then I don't know where Memphis turns. Jaren Jackson Jr., he did kind of catch fire late with no Draymond out there to deny him. Yeah. So, I would consider the under on the Memphis team total here. That's where I think we have a better chance of going under, is them actually not finding as much consistency in the second half as they did last game. So, yeah, and that would probably, support Golden State holding on for the money line. But I'm kind of, taking a step back and thinking about the entire series here, in the sense that just Memphis can't beat this experienced team 4 times or even 3 times, which is why I'm saying 6 or 5 for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, no, I concur with that. And there was a little bit of talk of, GP2 staying off of Ja because he really guards guys full court, and they don't want to rush up this Memphis tempo and speed. I don't think they want to run with them back and forth, and they might get into that scenario with Gary Payton playing directly on on Ja. He did a great job on Desmond Bane, where he actually spent the other large portion of his time on the floor as he held him to 9 points, which was crucial for them because they saw, if Desmond Bane gets going from 3, we're in trouble. But sagging off of Ja and letting him shoot threes and having GP2 hug Desmond Bane, I think that's still a great sort of strategy for them. Is Ja going to continue to shoot 4 for 11 from 3? Probably not. Is Desmond Bane capable of going 10 of 12 from 3? Absolutely. So that's how they lose these games. And if you keep Desmond Bane in check, keep Ja out of the lane as much as possible, which they did a decent job. I mean, they outscored him in the paint. A large part of that also Jordan Poole scoring 40% of his points, 45% of his points in the paint, getting a ton of layups as well, wide open layups and doing a good job of blowing by his guy. And Memphis is not going to bring their shot blockers outside of Triple J onto the floor. Steven Adams is still going to continue to not see the floor, as there's no one that he could guard on the Dubs, who are going to continue to go super, super small. And look, that's why they need Draymond back out there. Looney had a good enough game, but he also just got torched by pretty much everybody that he was trying to guard when he was out there. He's not really made for this series either, as you just need to be so much faster with Triple J playing the center position. And he's a good matchup for this game. I thought about taking him at only 14.5 points, or I believe it was 12.5 points, whatever. It was super low prop for him. I think you continue to look at his props in this one as well. As there's not much. He's one of the strongest guys on the floor outside of Draymond, so he's going to continue to be that and able to play down low at will. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to check out each and every playoff game video we'll have for you, as well as those player props videos. And until we see you next, happy betting.